once we found out I was depressed and anxious, it made so much sense. Like, there would be things in my past where it's like, I couldn't go to sleep. Like, I never wanted to go to sleep because I'm like, I don't want to get up the next day. Like, I just don't want to get up the next day. Like, I can't do that. Like, I don't want to get up and, like, do anything the next day. You know, like, kind of like that. Like, not that I just don't want to get up, but, like, I don't want to do tomorrow because I know tomorrow means work and going to school and all that stuff. It was, like, definitely, like, the fear of the unknown and not being able to control my environment. I was diagnosed with dyslexia at the age of, when I was in 7th grade. So, like, growing up, I had, like, really difficult, like, B's and D's, can't spell, and, like, they would send me to, like, the one-on-one people, and I would get tested, but they were like, no, your IQ is fine, you don't need special help. So, like, once I got into 7th grade, like, my parents realized something's not, like, we're gonna get extra, like, testing outside the school, and so I got testing outside the school, and they realized, like, I'm dyslexic, and then your kid's pretty anxious, like, you should come to counseling, like, here. Like, I think I was, like, finishing soccer, I was swimming competitively, I was Irish dancing, I was Girl Scout, like, in Girl Scouts, doing, like, you know, school band, like, I had all this stuff going on. So what, like, I talked about in, like, those counseling sessions is, like, am I really happy with what I'm doing? Because, like, I had a rigorous schedule for, like, a 7th grader. And other people have that too. Like, I'm not saying, like, you know, it's, I figured out that, like, swimming, like, although I love it, it wasn't making me happy. It was, like, a stressor, not a stress relief. And then, so, like, I think I put swimming on the back burner. It feels like you can't be good at multiple things. You just have to be great at one thing. And, like, that's your thing. Like, you know, like, okay, you're a runner, you're a soccer player. Like, it's hard to be, like, you can't be great at 2 things, and it's not enough to be good at 2 things, like, just to be good. My dance team, a couple of my friends were gonna go to Ireland to compete. Like, I realized, like, that's what I want to do. Like, that's my goal. I want to dance in Ireland, and I want to dance in a major competition, and I want to, like, place well, and, you know, I want to be good at dancing. That summer, like, going into my junior year, that's when that's the first time that I contemplated suicide, because, so, like, I talked to my parents, and, like, I asked them, like, can I do this? Like, can I do 110%? Like, you know, go all into dance, because we were on the edge of it, like, before I would compete, and I would love to compete, but again, like, you can compete, like, every weekend if you want, but, like, money and, like, time and things like that made, like, my mom, like, set a limit, like, you're only doing, like, 2 competitions a year, something like that, and it's sort of like toddlers and tiaras Irish dance, where you get these big wigs and these, like, crowns and these, like, elaborate dresses. None of that. Like, I got none of that. Like, I had a secondhand, like, wig, which is, like, fine. And I was in, like, my grandma made me, like, dresses, which is, like, looking back on them, they were, like, that is nice that she did that, and she did the best that she could, but, like, oh, wow. They were not up to par, but, you know, I never had, like, a solo dress or, like, one of those nice, we never drank the Kool-Aid. We never, like, jumped all the way in and, like, okay. So, like, I asked them, like, okay, can I get a solo dress? Can I do this? Like, you know, can I go to extra practices? Can I dedicate myself, and will you support me, like, monetarily, like, time, and, like, you know, emotionally? And they said, yeah. So, you know, we went all in, and then we were looking for solo dresses, and then I started hearing my mom and my dad talk, like, can we even afford this? Like, can we afford a dress? And it's gonna sound weird, like, the dresses are, like, $1,000, and that's, like, a cheap dress. Some people will get them, like, every year they'll get a new one, and, like, I've gone 17 years of my life, and I still haven't got one, you know, like, I felt like I deserved it, and money should not be a problem, because, like, I asked them, like, you know, can we do this? And then, like, you know, we'd have to go to Ireland, and again, my mom was like, I don't know if we can do this monetarily, and I'm like, oh, why did you say, like, yes to me asking you? I had a realization like one night. I'm like, well, what's life like? Why is life worth living if we can't, do what we love when we're restricted by money and like time and this and that? And I realized like, I don't want this. Like, I want to go to Ireland. I want to, I love to learn, so I want to go to college, and then I don't want to deal with anything else. I think I'll end my life after college. It was scary in a sense that like I wanted to end my life, like, and I was angry at my parents, so like it was just so weird. And I'm never angry at my parents, like I'm always really open with them. It was just like a weird like kind of experience for me. So like that was in the summer, like that was the first time it happened, and then I got over it. Like I came to my senses, I was rational, and I was like, okay, we didn't get a dress that summer, but I'll like keep looking for a cheaper one, and I'll negotiate with people. And I talked to my mom, and like we worked something out where like I like would fundraise with my dance team, and so to subsidize the costs of going to Ireland. So like that worked out. So junior year, really, I took like 4 AP classes, and like Irish dancing was like revving up. Like we would practice like 3 times a week in the studio, like for 3 hours, and then we were expected to practice on our own for an hour each day at home. So, and then like going forward, we would go to like 4 days in the studio, and then this like would just keep getting harder. So with like my workload and then like dance, I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden like in December it just sort of clicked with me. Like I was done. Like I was spent. Like I remember like the day that like I said the word suicide in my head. Like, yeah, I think I'm gonna go through with that plan, like, go to college and then just die. Like, and that like really scared me. And a few days later I told my parents, and they're like, we gave all of this to you and you want to throw it away? Like, what the heck? And like at that moment in like my life, to hear like your mom, like she's like my hero and like just someone I look up to tell her like that like I'm feeling this way, and for her to say, no, you can't feel like this, how could you do this, like how could you do this to me, it was like really not okay. To me it was like steps, like thinking about it, holy crap, saying like suicide, oh my god, something's wrong, and then saying it out loud, like this is true, like this is what I want to do. We knew depression runs in our family on my dad's side, so like I didn't think like, oh, I want to go to a therapist because I'm depressed. I think I knew something was wrong and I wanted to see someone. Egg Harbor Township has like sort of like a wellness center here. It's like a teen center, I don't know, but like they have like counselors that are more like for emotional help than like school help. We actually went to a therapist the day after Christmas, and it was really, that first year, like that first junior year was just really difficult. It was, especially that Christmas, like things weren't okay with my parents, and like I was trying to be happy for other people, like for my brothers, and like, oh, yay, oh, I got a gift, but like I couldn't, like all that I could give out or give to them was me being there and like opening my gifts and being with them. And my mom didn't appreciate that. She didn't understand at that point like what the illness was, and like that was the first time in my life that night I was gonna end it. Like I was like, if I had a gun right now, I would not be alive. But it sort of escalated from there. I started getting like panic attacks in school. I remember like one day I went to take my ACT, went to school. I had to do it in school. That was also like the difficult thing, and I didn't have any time in school because I had like all AP classes, all important things to do. So I took it, and then I had a panic attack, and I went to the teen center, and like I was having a panic attack, but then they're like, oh, well, do you have, like, we're legally obliged to ask you, or do you have thoughts of suicide? And I said, obviously, like, I've been depressed for about, like, this is February or January, and I was like, I've been depressed for about 2 months, and I'm a smart person. I have a creative, anxious mind. Like, I thought of different ways, and I found a way that I would have liked to go on, and I had a plan. Just because, not that would I go through with it? I don't know, but I was sent to the hospital, the emergency room, and I eventually ended up in hospital care or whatever, like in the psychiatric unit. And then, I spent time in the psychiatric unit. I met people who came from different harder backgrounds than I did, and I think what really was hard for me was I shouldn't be feeling this way. My parents said I shouldn't be feeling this way. I really shouldn't. I have opportunities. I got to do all these things younger, and I'm going to Ireland eventually, so why am I feeling this way? So I think I went to the hospital. It was a very big shift for me, just because I met all these people, but then I realized it's okay, no matter where we're from or our backgrounds, I'm valid in feeling this way in being me. It was though really traumatizing, just because I went to the hospital when my school sent me to the hospital. I had to get a psychiatric evaluation to come back to school, and they said you should go into inpatient care, and I said no, I don't want this. I said I had a bio league competition the next day, and I was I had the team on my back. I couldn't let them down. So I said no, I'm not going into and at that time I didn't know what they would do for me. I'm not doing anything to myself. I'm not cutting. I'm not hurting myself. So I don't know what going into the hospital would do. And then the next day I actually didn't go to school, so I couldn't do the bio competition. I talked to my therapist, and we decided that it was the best thing for me because it would give me a chance to get on medication, which we were on the back order of trying to get, we were on the waiting list of trying to get into see a psychiatrist. We were gonna see her later in the month, but I needed to start the cycle or start the process as soon as possible. I was just that bad. So then I had to go through I went to a different ER, and I had to go through the whole process again, and I had to see my parents. I saw my dad cry, he cried in front of me, and I was being the first night I was being such a vicious monster. I heard them talking about should we bring her to the hospital, literally the night before I went to the hospital, and I was if you're gonna do this to me, I hate you, how dare you bring me here, make me do this. Everyone makes you feel crazy when you're there, and when you checked in, and I need a psych eval. Why? Well, I'm suicidal. They're oh, the ER people. It made me stop everything. Going to the hospital, I couldn't do homework. I couldn't worry about my AP classes. I couldn't worry about my friends. I couldn't worry about dance. I couldn't, I just couldn't, because I didn't have the means to. I didn't have my phone. I didn't have this. I was in this confined space, in this hall with a bunch of other kids who I didn't know, and, I had to, it made me stop, and it made me, realize a bunch of things. So then I got out of the hospital. I would have liked to say, everything, was better from there, and then it was perfect. But obviously not. Keeping up with dance was still difficult because, I wouldn't want to dance, I wouldn't want to practice. I would be so exhausted after school. I would just want to sleep. And then, if I did do my practice, it wouldn't be as up to the caliber as I wanted it to be. So it's well, why did I even do that? I, made it through my school year. It was difficult because I had to, make up work from when I was out. I eventually had to, I went on homebound for a while because I was getting so many panic attacks in school. So, once I finished my ACT, working with that, I went to homebound, again, to get me, away from, the stressors and things like that. So I finished, my junior year, And I went to Ireland. I went with two of my friends. We like went together like with their families, and like we stayed at the same place and things like that. And like I think Ireland was like the best thing that could have happened to me like in that year, because like whenever I wanted to hurt myself or whenever I wanted to end it like on a bad day, I'm like, I have Ireland, like I just need to make it to Ireland, like that's my dream. Like if I give up on that, like little 4-year-old like 4th grade Katie would hate me. Like she would hate you, like you got to do this for her, kind of thing. So I went to Ireland, and I wasn't happy in Ireland, and that made me really upset. Like it was like this build up, like just make it, and then to make it, and then like to be and like to live your dream, to dance in Ireland, to be with your friends and be with like your dad who like super Irish and like loves that you're here, and to not be happy was really like, it was again hard, because it's like this is what I wanted. Like I wanted to be happy here, and I'm not, so this is great. And then I competed, and it was awesome. Like I do have to say, like all like the months leading up to dancing, like leading up to this competition, I was like forgetting things, and I would like mess up, and like I was super worried I would mess up on stage, but like I didn't. And like, oh, like I owned that stage. I had like 2 other people dancing with me, but like, oh, when I walked off the stage, I was like, yeah, I did that. Like that was my stage, and like I put everything out there. Like I had nothing left. And then like, so Irish dancing, you do 2 dances, and then they'll bring people back. Like they'll recall people, so like 50% of the competitors will come back. So I like recalled, and I was like, yes, like top 10. And then you do another dance, and then so I did my other dance, and like my goal was to get on the podium. Like that's all I wanted to do, get 5th. And I'm like, okay, 10, I can do this. Like I'm totally gonna get 5th. Like after the way I danced, like no way. So what happens is like everyone lines up in the back, like behind the podium, and then once you get to the top 5, they line up in front of the podium. So they said like before they started doing awards, they were like, we had a tie for one of the places, so we're gonna start with number 9. And I'm like, okay. So number 9 gets called, wasn't my number. I'm like, oh thank God. Like, whew, okay, 8, okay. Like although like I knew I wasn't 8th, but like just to like not get it, it's like, oh my God, this is great. Okay, 7, okay, didn't make it, like it wasn't me, this is great. 6th, they said my number, and I was so like 6th, I was ready to like, after hearing it, walk up in front of the podium. They said my number, and I like, nah, that can't be right, like this. And like the girl next to me was like, oh my God, congratulations. And I was like, hi, yeah. And I went up, like I, stood in my 6th place, and 5th place gets called. Obviously, 5th place was the one that got tied, and I was like, of course it was tied, and I didn't get it. And I was just heartbroken, like, just my heart just like sunk to my like stomach. And my dance teacher, she's really harsh, like typical Irish woman, like, she doesn't give us compliments, like, she's always yelling and things like that. And she says like, people don't remember how you win, they remember how you lose. So whatever you do not cry in this competition. Like before we went over to Ireland, she's like, I do not want to see anyone cry. Like, I swear to God, if you cry, I'll be so angry. And so like I'm up there like holding my trophy, like, don't cry, like, oh my God, don't cry, like she's going. So I walked off the stage, and I supported my like a couple of my friends, like still getting like awarded, and I was like cheering on them, and they got their goal, which is great, but it's like stings a little bit too. And my teacher, before I left, she like came up to me and she said, I know you want to cry right now. And I'm like, no, I don't want to cry, I'm fine. Like, and she's like, but I have to say, like, the proudest moment of like my teaching career was watching you dance on that stage, like knowing what you've been through this year. Like, it was amazing. And like hearing that, my dance teacher never gives us compliments, and put me through hell the last couple of months, it made it better. It was really nice. Like, it just meant a lot to me that, like, finally someone recognized, like, my hard work and my, like, dedication to things, and, like, I was validated. And for coming from her, like, makes it 10 times better, because, like, you know, your parents can say that, but you're like, you're just telling me that because you're my mom. Like, I'm still not 100%, but, you know, I want to be 100%, like, yesterday, but I'll take what I can get, I guess. Like, so, yeah. Me being a perfectionist, it's hard to accept that, too, because, like, you know, it's hard to tell yourself that you have faults and, like, have that built into you is, like, crap, like, I'm not perfect, and that's, like, really difficult for me to, like, accept, and, like, to be, like, to have it, like, engraved in my, like, you know, genes that I'm not perfect, and I have this, like, chemical imbalance that, it, like, scares me, and it makes me just sad that, like, I'm not better, like, you know, and I know it's, like, nothing to be ashamed of, like, but it's sort of like, you think about it, if this is a chemical thing, like, will I get better? Like, you know, will my chemicals rise on their own? You know, I'm at such a high dose of medication right now, will I ever go lower? It's scary to think about, like, you know, that this is just who I am. Like, I have depression, and, like, I just honestly don't accept that still. Like, my imperfections, like, I still don't accept that I'm dyslexic and that I can't spell, or, like, you know, you make jokes about it and, like, try to brush it off, but, like, like, everyone wants to be perfect, and that's really difficult for me to not accept. Like, I can't accept that, or at least right now, like, I can't accept that, like, I'm not perfect, and it's no one else's fault but mine. Like, I should be fine, but I'm not, and that should really stinks. Like, if I could just save someone the time that I went through, like, the years that I, like, took to fight my depression, and, like, the sacrifices I had to make to get myself better, if I could, like, tell someone, like, get help now, I would. Like, I wish someone did that for me. I wish, like, when I told my parents I wanted to get therapy back in September, that I really, like, no, I want to get it, like, I need it. Because it really is, like, this is something you can be proactive about, and, like, your life doesn't have to go down this turn. And I think a lot of people don't realize that like, if you catch it, like, you know, you can go to a therapist before you're in the hospital. Like, that's something you can do. Or before you say, like, suicide in your head, or tell someone you're suicidal. If you're feeling anxious, or, like, depressed, or, like, just down, like, you can go see a therapist. There's nothing wrong with that. And you can prevent yourself all this hardship and all this heartbreak and all this heaviness, and, you know, it saves yourself a lot of time, like, honestly.